Welcome to Outside of the Classroom. Education is important, but not that bullshit, abstract, and theoretical education. You want useful, relevant, and actionable lessons that will help you succeed in life. So that's what we do. It's your boy Pham, your host, and now let's hack your education together. Welcome to Outside of the Classroom. Today's featured guest is Nomadic Matt, New York Times bestselling author of How to Travel the World on $50 a Day, helping and inspiring people from all walks of life to get out and travel. Matt has been featured in countless of publications like Lifehacker, New York Times, and Wall Street Journal. He's currently working on a new project called FLYTE, and we will definitely get more into that later. But Matt, I want to formally welcome you to the show.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for having me here. It's good to be on your podcast.
Well, awesome. How was your trip to Morocco?
Well, it was beautiful. Great food. Great. Well, the weather was really hot, but the food was great. The scenery was great. Lots of sensory overload there. I really enjoyed my time.
Well, traveling for like 7 years, can you even count how many countries you've been to?
80.
Oh wow, you have a number.
Yep.
Very sweet.
I keep
Well,
track.
well, Matt, I've been following your blog for about over a year, and I finally bought a copy of your book, opened up a Capital One venture card, and planning to book a trip really soon. So I just want to say thank you for inspiring me and inspiring thousands of others who've also read your work.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, let me know when you take that trip. Send a postcard.
I will. I saw the address on your website,
Yeah.
which is cool. Do you get a lot of postcards? I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
yeah. I'm slowly filling a wall.
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty
Oh,
cool.
well, I know my listeners love actionable tactics and advice, but I want to ask you a bigger picture question. What do you think draws people to travel so much? Because sometimes I feel like people are motivated because other people are doing it or they can capture photos. But I would love for you to just quickly share your story on how you got started for the listeners.
I took a trip to Costa Rica in 2004 for like a 2 week tour. It was my first time out of the country, and I just got really hooked on travel. I love the freedom it gave me, the ability to do anything, go anywhere, and be anyone in a respect.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I was just hooked by how different it was to my everyday life. And so, following year, I went to Thailand, met a bunch of backpackers, and fell really in love with uh, backpacking and the idea of long term travel. So, I came home, quit my job for a year, uh, and then a year turned into what are we going on now? Like 8 years later, 9 years
Insane.
later.
Insane. But I'm sure did you have enough money after before you quit your job? Did you have to plan out the financial stuff before you started traveling, or was it kind of I have enough life savings I can live off of?
Well, yeah, I mean, I worked out a rough estimate as to how much I think I needed. Back at this time, there wasn't a lot of information available online, so it was a lot of guesswork and looking at guidebooks and,
Hmm.
overestimating. And I just worked and saved and used, you know, 3 years of savings to fund
Hmm.
the trip. And then when I ran out of money, I taught English in Asia. And then eventually this writing thing took off, so I was, earning money through my writing. And
Oh,
now it's
sweet,
my job.
sweet. That's so cool. And when you go to parties and stuff, do you introduce yourself as a travel blogger or as a writer?
I usually say writer.
Writer.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I would encourage everyone to pick up a copy of Matt's book. But for the young person listening who wants to get started to travel, but they might complain that it's too expensive as a student. But I know there's a lot of different discounts and hidden things that most students don't know. What would be your advice to that?
Uh, you know, the idea that travel is expensive comes from this belief that has been sustained over the years that traveling is expensive because we don't know people who travel. We see the commercials for travel. Everyone says it's expensive, so it must therefore be true.
Hmm.
Uh, but once you start traveling, you see that if you travel like how you live back home, taking local transportation, going to local shops, uh, not binge drinking all the time, finding deals using the web, that there are a lot of opportunities out there to save money. You just have to find them. You know, Condé Nast Traveler is not going to put them out there because, you know, most magazines aim at a higher income bracket, so they're less price sensitive. How many
It,
magazines on backpacking do you really see? Not many, and they're usually PDF guides, not like when you go to a bookstore in the magazine section.
Mhm. So interesting. So for the young person who's listening, and they, travel like being expensive is like a total myth. Where exactly like should they start? I know they should buy your book, but I mean, like after that, should they pick a place first? Should they buy the equipment? I guess what are the first few steps for like a young person to just get out there and travel?
Well, like you said, buying my book is definitely the best first step. How to travel the world on $50 a day, but I think the first step is just save some money. Right?
Mhm.
Don't worry about where you want to go or what you want to see in building this complex itinerary. Save a few $1,000s and figure out the first place you want to go the most and see if you can work there. If you can't work there, try to find a destination that's inexpensive. Go
Mhm.
to google.com/flights. Try to find the cheapest flight you can. Google will let you see like from your location anywhere around the world where's the cheapest flight. So if you can't sort of pick a place, go to where's the cheapest.
Mm.
Um, but people sort of get trapped by this fear, like I don't know what to do, I don't know where I'm going to go, I don't know what to see. Don't worry about it. Your itinerary
Interesting.
is going to change anyway. Like just go to either someplace you've always wanted to go or find the cheapest flight. But first thing you got to do is save some money. Uh,
Mm.
if you're going to work, if you're going to go away for a year and work in the destination you're going to live in, you don't need to save as much money, but
Mhm.
try to save, roughly double what you think you'll need. In a book like mine or other guidebooks will give you suggested itineraries and expenses
Mhm.
so you can kind of get an idea as to like, okay, what is this place going to cost me?
Mhm. Interesting. So you mentioned work at like a different place, like either it's Thailand or Europe or wherever you travel. What exactly do you mean by work? I know you mentioned teaching English. There's also like farm work. Like, what do you mean by work?
I mean work, like job. What do I mean by work? I mean getting a job, whether it's as a bartender or hostel worker, teaching English, working at a farm, being an au pair. I mean work.
Interesting. Because I was just asking that because I didn't mean to sound dumb or anything, but there's so many different jobs out there, and I was curious to see like as a foreigner, what job would be suitable for like the young person who just wants to get out there and just work right away. So cool. Um,
Yeah, I mean, the type of work you can get depends on the country you're going to.
mhm. And I'm curious, what kind of occupations have you had in the past, or a few of the occupations that you've done while traveling?
I taught English in Taiwan and Thailand.
Nice, sweet. Interesting. Okay, so so pick a place, or you don't have to pick a place. Just save up money, just go. You can go to Google or backpack.com/flight to find the cheapest flights. Okay, I guess what are some of the most like popular places you've noticed like most travelers tend to like go to as a destination spot?
Southeast Asia, Europe,
Hmm.
Central America, Australia, New Zealand. Those that tends to be like the route people take. They fly through that way.
Interesting. And when you travel, like I'm assuming you have like a roadmap on like where to go for these places because there's like a touristy place in most of these places, and then there's like a local like area where there's hostels, and you can dine in with like the farmers market there and et cetera, right?
You say that again?
Well, I'm just saying like when you travel to anywhere, I know there's like a touristy place and there's like a more of a local scenery where everything is much cheaper, it's much more like real, like the real traveling experience. Um, any recommendations on like how to find these like hidden places where you can find like hang out with locals or shop at the local farmers market instead of going to like the touristy place where they jack up the prices and all the other things like that.
Yeah, if when you go to any destination, there's where the crowds are and where the crowds aren't. If you just look for where where the crowds aren't, locals don't, New Yorkers don't hang out in um, Times Square, right?
Mhm.
Or Empire State Building, right? So you just got to go to places that are off the beaten path. I like to say that, if you are in a major tourist site, go like 5 blocks in any direction, and you're gonna find sort of the local life.
Interesting. 5 blocks. Cool. Awesome. So we save up money and then we want to just travel anywhere, go 5 blocks and find the local areas, find work. I guess what are some of the most like common mistakes that first time travelers make, whether it's like buying airline tickets or buying the wrong like travel insurance? What have you seen so far while helping people?
Most most travelers tend to make few common mistakes. They overplan their trip. They build out this itinerary. They're very rigid.
Hmm.
They're sort of inflexible. They don't budget enough money. They're not realistic about their expenses. They go to a place, they burn all their money on drink, and it's like, well, if you know you're a big drinker, like you should have planned for that, right? So
Hmm.
um, it's it's just a few things. Over planning, under budgeting. They tend to like pre-book too much of their trip, uh, and they don't really get off the beaten path enough, so they don't really find so many deals.
Yeah, but just for over planning, like someone might be listening who's very first time traveling, a little bit scared. They might be thinking, if I don't plan, then my whole trip is gonna be like a waste of money or like a waste of my time if I don't like plan out every single thing. What's your response to that?
Travel. You When you're flexible with your travels, then you can capture deals a lot easier, right? I
Hmm.
mean, if you're traveling for a month, right, uh, and you meet some cool people and they're going left you, but you've already pre-booked right, like you're going to be upset. You're
Hmm.
gonna be like, I want to go hang out with these people. So then you're going to cancel your plans, and then what happens then? You've just wasted money. There's no reason that going with the flow is a waste of money. It's often a better use of money because you can wait for a deal, or you're not going to lose money in pre-booking anything.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
it I would say going with the flow is much better. Uh, Pre-book, if you're on a 2 week trip, yeah, of course, you're more limited for time, so you can pre-book things a little bit more in advance, right? But the longer
Hmm.
you go away, the less you want to book.
Got it. So over planning, unrealistic spending, and then did you say a third one or did I miss that?
Um, they're all kind of wrapped in the same, so I would say just go with those two.
Over planning, unrealistic spending. Interesting. So for those listening who want to go travel, just make sure you understand like these common mistakes before you actually like go on your trip.
People
So Matt, oh
Another
go
one
ahead,
is
sorry.
people just don't do enough research. They go in blindsided, right? There's so much information available on the internet today that to
Hmm.
go in and say, I don't know how much this was going to cost is just basically saying, I actually did no research for this. I don't know how much I should have. So I'm just,
Hmm.
you know,
The real excuse is I didn't I was too lazy to Google it.
yeah, it's like I was too lazy to Google it. You know, that's pretty much it.
That's so funny. Well, Matt, I know you launched a big project recently called FLYTE, which stands for Foundation of for Learning and Youth and Travel Education. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, this is a nonprofit based in the U.S. that's going to raise money to send underprivileged, economically disadvantaged, and rural high school students on educational trips overseas. Uh, the goal is to give kids who don't have the privilege of travel, who don't have parents who can take them to Disney World or a month in Europe or to Paris, or
Hmm.
schools with the resources to organize these kinds of trips to somewhere
Hmm.
they want to go. And most of these programs are really generally in big cities. So one thing that separates FLYTE is that we're open to teachers nationwide. So whether you're New York or California or rural Texas or Alaska, we want to give you the opportunity to take your students on an educational trip overseas so they can really get to understand all the opportunities there are in the world, to see that there's something
Mhm.
more than their small town.
That's so awesome. And what inspired you to do this like nonprofit? Was it because you saw people or saw kids in other countries who didn't have an opportunity to travel, or was it
Well, I
something
mean,
else?
there are kids in other countries who definitely don't have the opportunity to travel, but there are kids in this country too, and I just kind of want people to travel more, and I figured this was a good way to get travelers hooked when they're young.
Awesome. Yeah, once like you said with Thailand, like once you have the travel bug, like you can't like shake it off and it keeps growing and growing.
Yeah, you just can't shake it off. I've tried to shake it off, shake,
Mhm.
shake it off, but it doesn't work. And, the travel bug is the only disease I'm happy to have.
Mhm. Well, that's so funny because like I'm afraid that maybe if I do the same route, like if I like go to Thailand for a year and I come back home, I'm gonna be like a little bit sad and I want to just go travel again, and then like I have to. Well, I guess like when you travel, like what about your friends and family like back home? Like is that ever a concern for you, or is that like you always come back to your home when you need to?
Um, for a while I didn't really come home, but now I'm usually on the road for about 3 months, and then I go travel. Then I come home, and then I'm on the road, and I bounce between the two
Hmm.
because I sort of have a job and an office and everything now. It's a little bit. I, I don't go away for a super long time.
Hmm. And is that in New York? You said.
Yeah, I live in New York. Yes.
Okay, sweet. So you mentioned a lot of different stuff. So just traveling right away, do your research, don't overplan, have a realistic spending budget. I guess like, is there anything else that I might have missed that young people should know about traveling before like they go on a trip? I know they want to read your book because it's so detailed and super insightful, but just like off the top of your head, do you might have some more advice for these young people?
You're gonna work until you're dead. So why waste the best years of your life saving for the worst years of your life when they might not even come? I can get hit by a bus tomorrow, right? So could you. You could break a leg, lose an arm. You're gonna work forever. So don't feel the obligation that I have to graduate, work, retire, get a house, and blah blah blah. You
Hmm.
know, you got student debt. Go teach English in Asia. Pay it off.
Mm.
Right?
That's
There is a limitless world. I mean, you literally have more opportunity than anybody has had in the history of mankind, and it only every day. So why limit yourself to just society tells me I have to get a job, so I'll get a job.
dude. I love that, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because that's such a great point to end this off. But Matt, how can we know more about you, and how can we help out with Flight?
Well, you can know more about me at nomadicmatt.com. Simple, easy,
Hmm.
everywhere on the internet, nomadicmatt.com. Um, and so, and you can learn more about flight at takeflight.org.
Take.
And it's flight with a Y, so FLYTE. So
Hmm.
take FLYTE.org. And we're right now looking for schools and trying to raise money. We've raised close to $10,000 already. Uh, where we need another 15 to go, but we're also looking for volunteers and everything to help us out. So yeah, come contact
Sweet.
me on one of those platforms, and let's go from there. And we'll
Let's do
talk.
it.
We will
So
talk and
so
talk.
volunteer, or if you know a teacher or you know like school admin at different schools that are interested in this program, definitely reach out to them as well. And
Right.
help Matt as much as he can. But well, Matt, this has been great. I encourage everyone listening to pick a copy of his book and go on takeflight.org and check out what he's all about. So thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate you.
All right. Awesome.